Hi there, I'm Marina,
Hi, I'm Duncan.
and we're the two co-developers behind Iron Roads, which is our latest game. We thought we'd make a short video, well, we'll see how long this takes, to introduce the game for anyone who's not familiar with it, talk about the latest updates since we last made one of these videos, and talk about what we're excited about and our plans for it. So maybe we can kick off with, maybe Duncan, you can introduce the game?
Yep. So this is Forgotten Valley. It's the first and smallest scenario. There are much larger, much more complex ones later, but it's a great way to show what's going on. And I've set up a very minimal train network. So you can see we've got 4 towns here. Mercy Shore, blue, yellow, green, Apple Blue down here. And they've all got passengers for other towns, and you lay tracks and create trains to do that. So you can obviously lay tracks. And I'll just show you building a station quickly. And then you can go through here and set train orders, change the route and so on of all the individual trains and carry the passengers where they need to go.
So that sounds simple enough in principle. I see there are some arrows and crosshatches on the tracks. Maybe you can explain that a bit?
Yep. So we wanted to make this approachable for everybody, really. And one thing we found when playing other train games is sometimes we found the signals could be off-putting to some people, not everyone.
I will happily admit to being some people. I never quite got my head around more complex signalling. So hands up there. Yeah.
So you can see you would just draw a bunch of arrows on the track, and then that means that now trains will only go that direction. A lot of this is set up. So that way you can set up a one-way system and the trains won't lock up.
And the crosshatch?
Crosshatch are non-stop zones. Essentially only one train can go in it at once, and it needs to be able to get out. It's just here where you want a train to wait while there's a platform free.
So in other words, the train, say, that's approaching it right now,
Yeah.
it won't enter it unless it is sure that it can make it through the crosshatch.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's useful in some situations. But mainly, actually, I think the one-way systems flow the best.
So actually, on that note, for anyone who's been following us for a while, we have updated the tutorial a little bit to explain these signals and all other various buttons you can see on the construction mode, and we're also working on a sort of wiki version, if you wish, to discuss more maybe advanced ways of using these. But back to the basics of of Iron Roads, and in this case Forgotten Valley. Maybe one thing we can show a bit more that we've worked on would be the graphs and why we've put them in place.
Yeah, so we think that the best gameplay in Iron Roads is probably the optimization. When you've set up your network and you just want to make it run better and better. So you're transporting 10 people an hour, now can you transport 20? So part of this is we've got contracts which are, like the administrators or characters within the world give you things they want. And for one here, you can see the mayor, I think, has asked you to carry 30 passengers an hour, and you've only got 20 per hour running. So that one would be relatively easy. You just go choose the train and probably just put a few more trains on the line.
Well, that's one way to do it. There are other ways.
That is one way, or you could have more carriages. So we're still on a fairly early one, but as it goes on, it's always, can you do more? And you start to run out of space and resources, and things lock up. And we've put in graphs so you can track these goals as well.
Exactly, because there are also, for example, maintenance fees, because it's not as simple as throwing more trains at the problem, and we'll talk about that a bit later as well in terms of the environmental elements. But I wanted to maybe call you out, or maybe talk a bit further, because you mentioned call you out because you said people, and it used to be people who are the passengers in Iron Roads, but maybe something we've worked on a bit more recently was the core story behind who are you, basically, what's going on, why are there cats on what do you call them? I call them lilos, but I don't think they're lilos, like floating donuts? Pool donuts? I don't know.
It's a good question.
It's a good question. It's not the important question. Who are your passengers, Duncan, and what's the story in brief?
Yeah, so Yeah, so the kind of story of this world is your passengers tend to be animals of one form or another. For example, Applebury Farm is staffed by sheep.
Not staffed, residents.
Well, residents, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Really
they
staffed.
do work on the farms, you're right.
And yeah, the idea is that there was a human civilization which seems to have developed itself into oblivion, and the animals were left over and have taken over what was left. And really, it means we've put in a lot of mechanics now about development. I think it's a theme we wanted to explore in this. I think very early on we made the game, and we took this beautiful art that Marina drew.
Thank you very much.
And we'd covered the map in stations and tracks, and we thought, oh, that looks a bit ugly now.
As in, it didn't sit well with us that you can just fill the map to no detriment to the citizens there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one thing maybe to make it clear. So the humans left, the animals stayed, they became more intelligent and erudite, but they lived in fear of repeating the humans' mistakes. They don't want to be extinct themselves. So basically they were afraid to join the other. They stayed in the towns, they stayed isolated. And that's where you sort of are called as the administrator to start cautiously and tentatively connecting them. But they are very scared of you messing up. And that's why there's going to be these environmental things to think about if you want to. This is entirely up to you. So, Duncan, maybe you're on a field there. Can you explain, say, that mechanic?
Well, the reason I've run around this field is this is one of the ways we wanted the map to react to you. Is Applebury Farm, it's obviously a farm. Farms need fields. So if I start drawing all the way through the fields, I will destroy them. And you can see a notification comes up here just to tell you destroyed agricultural land. When you do this, the farm shrinks.
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes.
So it's a bit of a strategy
but
there.
If I keep going, I'll manage to shrink it. So then, for example, it is the ability to take passengers from Applebury Farm, but you get more ground for building. So we've tried to put a lot of these balance issues in there,
That's right. And maybe we can talk a bit about the mechanics that are still not in place, but they are really on the top of our to implement list.
So one that I think I'll do this week is Neptunia is an industry. You can always serve industry over passengers if you choose, but it will grow much quicker and destroy kind of everything in its path, whether it be towns or fields or anything. So it'll kind of sprawl over your map and again constrict you.
Well, which it's not in itself a bad thing for your business, because the bigger a town is, the more passengers, and if you route things to Neptunia, that's something you may choose to. So it's hopefully it will be a fun mechanic that we're still iterating on, but we're very excited by it and would love to know what you guys think. And there are other ones. Maybe we'll leave those for a bit.
We should implement them first.
Implement them first. Okay. So you mentioned we've talked about scenarios. Anyone who's been following us for a while is probably most familiar with this mode of play. Scenarios that have contracts and the sort of story behind them, and they're very different scenarios. We can quickly show the cargo hauling scenario, maybe.
Yeah.
Duncan, where
we haven't actually really mentioned that. We keep talking about transporting passengers, whether they be human or animal, but actually there is cargo in this game as well. So this, for example, here is Desert Dew, where you're hauling cargo around the deserts. Again, this is kind of the introduction to cargo, so it's not as large or complex as it can be. But you can see here on the right, up the top right, you can see the kind of production chain. Because
you're making this coconut drink.
And again, not very much right now. That's clipped off the screen. But the white line's my target for my contract here.
Yeah.
And I'm not producing enough. So I need to produce more.
And Neptunia, you can see, comes in there and makes you make some decisions of whether you're going to the farmer's market or Neptunia's factory. So there are a few interesting elements there, but it's fundamentally a cargo hauling scenario where you want to be as efficient as possible to produce your coconut drink. So that's hopefully you get the idea of what the scenarios are about. They're really fun, especially if you like to-do lists and ticking them off and a bit of a story and context behind what you're doing. Hopefully it's great fun. But the other modes, maybe Duncan, you can mention them a bit.
Yeah. So scenarios we've discussed, we've got a couple of those, we'll add more. So 2 new things we've added quite recently is challenge mode and endless mode. So for challenge mode, actually I'll just load a challenge.
I'm really excited by challenge mode. It's one of my favourite ways to play Iron Roads right now.
Yeah, so I just started this last night actually. Essentially what you've got is you've got a timer ticking down here. So you get 5 days and how many passengers can you transport.
That's all it is. It's quite simple in premise, but maybe because it's so focused, it makes it really fun and bite-sized. How long would you say it takes to get through your 5 in-game
20-30 minutes, I think, usually.
Depends on the game speed. One thing we should mention is that there are 3 game speeds. Well, pause, normal speed, and fast.
Yeah.
So that obviously affects how quickly you get through something like a challenge.
Yeah, I really like it actually because it's quite interesting trying to figure out what the most efficient way to play Iron Roads is. I still haven't really figured it out, and it's quite a lot of fun because we've got a Discord that we haven't mentioned as well.
Yeah,
and in that we've linked this so you can link your game to your Discord, and then as you go along, you'll.
And what's really funny is that. Even though we've hopefully played the most hours, we're still not the best. We're already not the best.
Not at all. not at all. No, it's that's really interesting.
Case, isn't it? But it's great fun, and it's sort of a bite-sized way to play Iron Roads. But yeah.
So then I think for a lot of people, maybe once they've played the scenarios and aren't interested in the challenge, endless mode would be the larger one, which we're still working on. But you can kind of we've got to redo this screen and everything. It's very much in development. But you can randomly generate a map. Essentially, that's the seed up the top, and even add contracts to it. And then it lays out a random map each time, and you can start off connecting things.
So the maps are procedurally generated, is that right? Can you load the same map if you really like it?
If you really like it, you've got, like in many games like this, you've got a seed, and you can do that, share the seed with your friends, whatever. It's
that's really cool. And is there a time pressure on this in the same way?
No, not at all. Absolutely, totally different. So we're introducing, so it'll start bringing up some contracts for you, and we show your percentage on time, maybe just to encourage certain things. But no, really, you can do whatever you like. Then it's you set up your network in the way you want to set it up for whatever internal motivation you have on it.
Exactly, and I find this a way to be quite creative, because basically you can try out so many things. You can obviously save at different places. I don't know if I'm the only person who does this. If I'm going to do something quite ambitious that will likely fail, I save, try it out, usually run out of money or figure out it was a bad idea and load again. I don't know if that's just me. Okay.
Absolutely, no, you can do that.
But it's sort of a way to play as long or as little as you like, right?
Yeah, in whatever way you want.
So that's it's what we're working on right now. Any thoughts or ideas about it? We, as always, are very happy to implement them, or at least certainly consider them. But
sorry to jump in. It's worth saying this isn't available in the demo at all yet. We're still working on this. We're not.
That's right.
So it's but the challenges are.
I think one other thing to maybe mention, this one will involve us not talking so much, is that we've worked on, Duncan especially has worked on the music, and we have now music in Iron Roads, or is it fair to call it music or sound effects? Duncan, over to you to explain
it's more, it's again, like everything else, we're iterating on it, and it's I'm just going to go somewhere with a few more passengers running so you can hear it. But we wanted... it's a building game. It's a game about player creativity, and we wanted in some way for the music to reflect that. So I just need to turn it on actually because I've had it off so far. But every time a passenger loads or unloads, it'll generate a beep, and we've tried to put a kind of overall structure on that.
And then when you create a new train line, is that right?
It'll start to change sounds as you add. I'll just leave it running like this. I can't hear it. So
we can't hear it, so we're hoping that it sounds okay. But I think it's very clever, and I really think it's quite special. Again, we're still working on it, but that's another thing we're excited about in terms of our updates.
Yep, feedback's always welcome.
Yeah. And I think maybe we can quickly talk about our plans for the medium term and long term with it, and maybe platforms that we are going to be working on?
Yeah, so we do have a mobile version already. So if you've got iOS, please drop by our Discord if you want to try this out on your phone. We think it works really well on all platforms, and we hope eventually to link them, and you can start a game on your PC and finish it on your phone as one of our ideas.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. Also, we're really working on developing endless mode and developing those kind of environmental mechanics. We really like how they add a little bit more strategy, I think. Something else to think about when you're playing.
As well as more scenarios, and then hopefully at some point, not too long in the future, we will launch into early access.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're working towards at the moment. I don't know. I don't know if you know when that'll be, but
one day we will in some way or another launch. So I think that's hopefully gives you a better idea of what we're doing, what we're excited about, and what Iron Roads is. If you're stuck, if you've got something that really doesn't resonate with you with all our changes, or you think you've come up with a very clever idea for us, we're always happy to listen to you and consider.
Yeah, please drop by the Discord. We love hearing anyone's opinions. Really, it's
and let us know what you think. So thank you for watching if you've made it this far, and until the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.